Imagine being abandoned by your father, left to survive a brutal Vermont snowstorm. Caleb and Noah Marshall never thought they'd face their father again after he left them in the wilderness. But 20 years later, a shocking twist reunites them, revealing a betrayal darker than they imagined. Who saved them that night? Why did their father vanish? What secret has been buried all these years? Stay tuned, but be warned. This story will leave you rethinking family and forgiveness. It was a frigid winter evening, snow swirling in violent gusts as Henry Grayson drove his SUV through Vermont's Green Mountain Forest. His hands gripped the wheel, knuckles pale, headlights catching fleeting glimpses of snow-laden pines. In the back seat, his twin sons, Caleb and Noah, slept soundly, their innocent faces framed by matching green parkas. Each clutched a worn stuffed animal, Caleb's patched bear, Noah's floppy-eared rabbit. Henry glanced at them in the rearview mirror, his chest tight with guilt and fear, whispering, "Just a quick stop." To himself, his tie askew, knowing it was a lie. The Green Mountain Forest closed in, its snow-heavy pines swaying in the storm's relentless howl. Henry Grayson's SUV inched along a rutted path, headlights slicing through the blizzard. At 40, Henry was a millionaire investor, his fair skin pale under stress, dark eyes haunted. His tailored wool coat and loosened tie felt out of place in the wild, his polished shoes slipping as he'd checked the road earlier. His brother Richard's voice rang in his mind, "Get rid of them, or I'll destroy your company." Richard, envious and cunning, had unearthed Henry's early financial missteps, falsified records from a desperate startup phase, and threatened exposure unless the boys, heirs to Grayson Enterprises, were removed. Henry's hands trembled, knuckles white on the wheel. "They'll be found," he told himself, picturing a ranger stumbling on the cabin ahead. It's just one night. In the back seat, Caleb and Noah Marshall, 6 years old, slept under green parkas, hoods framing their small faces. Caleb's dark hair curled at his temples, Noah's lighter strands matted with sweat. Their stuffed animals, a bear with a patched paw for Caleb, a rabbit with drooping ears for Noah, rested against their chests, small hands clutching tightly. Henry glanced in the rearview mirror, his throat tight. Their innocence, so like their mother's before her death, pierced him. Richard's plan was monstrous, but the alternative, losing everything, leaving the boys penniless, was unthinkable. "Just a quick stop," he whispered, the lie bitter. The SUV reached a clearing, a dilapidated cabin barely visible through the snow. Henry's plan was meticulous. Leave the boys, drive to Burlington, claim they wandered off during a hike. The storm would cover his tracks, and rangers patrolled nearby trails. He exhaled, breath fogging the windshield, and cut the engine. "Boys, wake up," he called, voice shaky. Caleb stirred, rubbing his eyes with pink fists. "Dad, are we there?" Noah hugged his rabbit, shivering. "It's cold." Henry forced a smile, jaw clenched. "Need firewood. Wait by that pine tree, okay?" Twins nodded, too trusting, their boots crunching as they trudged to a towering pine, its branches sagging under snow. Henry slammed the SUV door, wind biting his face like a rebuke. He glanced back, two small figures, parkas blending with the storm, their backs braced against the gusts. Regret surged, sharp and raw, but Richard's threat loomed larger. "They'll be fine," he repeated, boots sinking, as he hurried into the forest, crafting a story. "I searched all night." The lie took root, numbing his guilt as he vanished into the white. Hours dragged for Caleb and Noah. Snow piled on their hoods, their teeth chattering in the biting cold. Caleb shouted, "Dad!" his voice swallowed by the wind. Noah gripped his rabbit, eyes wide with unspoken fear, his silence heavier than words. "He'll come back," Caleb insisted, voice trembling, clinging to a fading hope. The forest blurred into a wall of white, their small hands clasped tightly, the only warmth in the vast dark. Noah whispered, "I'm scared," his breath a faint cloud. A figure emerged through the blizzard. Samuel Holt, a burly ex-firefighter, his weathered coat crusted with snow. At 45, his tanned skin and graying beard framed a face etched with grief, a widower who'd sought solitude after losing his wife. Hauling firewood to his cabin, he spotted the boys, mere shadows under the pine. His heart sank. Abandonment, stark and undeniable. Dropping his sled, He waded through snow, boots sinking deep. "Hey, it's okay," he said, kneeling, his deep voice cutting through the storm. Caleb's eyes, brimming with terror, met his. "Did Dad leave us?" he stammered. Noah stayed silent, Rabbit clutched tight, his face pinched. Samuel's chest tightened, anger flaring at the unseen father. "You're safe now," he said, studying their frost-reddened cheeks. "Come with me." Caleb hesitated, glancing at Noah, who took Samuel's gloved hand, fingers trembling. Samuel led them through the drifts, their steps faltering but resolute. His log cabin, nestled in a clearing, glowed with firelight, its sturdy walls a shield against the storm. Inside, the hearth crackled, casting a warm glow on wooden beams. Samuel draped blankets over the boys, setting cocoa mugs on a scarred table. "Drink," he urged, voice soft but firm. Caleb sipped, his face pale, while Noah stared at the flames, Rabbit in his lap. "Thank you," Caleb whispered, a spark of trust flickering. Samuel nodded, his mind churning. Who could abandon these kids? As a soldier, he'd seen cruelty, but this was personal. He'd protect them, no matter what. The scent of warm bread and cinnamon wafted through Caleb Marshall's bakery in Stowe, Vermont, a cozy shop with checkered curtains and wooden tables. It was April 2025, 20 years since that snowy night in the Green Mountain Forest when Caleb and his twin, Noah, were abandoned by their father, Henry Grayson. Caleb, now 26, stood behind the counter, his lean 5'10" frame dusted with flour, dark hair tucked under a baker's cap. His steady hands kneaded dough, but his hazel eyes were distant, fixed on a leather journal resting by the register. Noah, slightly shorter with lighter curls and a quieter air, sat at a corner table, grading high school essays, his flannel shirt rolled to his elbows. Their childhood stuffed animals, Caleb's patched bear, Noah's floppy-eared rabbit, sat on a shelf above, silent witnesses to their survival. Raised by Samuel Holt, the ex-firefighter who'd saved them, the twins had forged lives of purpose. Caleb's bakery was a town staple. Noah's teaching inspired students, yet the scar of Henry's betrayal lingered. 3 weeks ago, Caleb had found the journal in a donated box of books, its cover embossed with H.G., Henry Grayson. Its pages unraveled a chilling truth. Henry's brother, Richard Grayson, had blackmailed him, threatening to expose financial fraud from Henry's early career unless he removed the boys, heirs to Grayson Enterprises. "I thought a ranger would find them," Henry wrote. Richard said it was the only way. The final entry, dated a year ago, read, "I've searched for them, haunted by shame." Caleb slammed the journal shut, his jaw tight. "Noah, he's alive," he said, voice low, pushing the book across the counter. Noah looked up, his pen pausing mid-sentence, and read the marked page. His face paled, curls falling over his forehead. "Burlington," he murmured, tracing Henry's last known address. "He's been there all along?" The words hung heavy, stirring a mix of anger and curiosity. Caleb paced, his apron strings swaying. "Richard forced him, but Henry still left us. Why didn't he fight?" Noah's fingers brushed his rabbit's ear, a habit from childhood. "Maybe he was weak, not cruel." Caleb snorted, but Noah's calm steadied him, as it always had. They agreed to visit Samuel, their anchor, for answers. The drive to Samuel's cabin wound through Vermont's rolling hills, spring buds dotting the landscape. Samuel, now 65, greeted them at his renovated log home, its wide windows framing a meadow. His burly frame filled a red flannel shirt, tanned skin lined with age, gray beard, fuller. "Boys," he said, voice warm, but his smile faded at their tense expressions. "Trouble?" Inside, the hearth glowed, a framed photo of young Caleb and Noah fishing with Samuel on the mantel. Caleb handed over the journal, flour still on his knuckles. "Henry's alive. Richard blackmailed him." Samuel sank into a chair, reading, his face darkening. "Grayson," he growled, tossing the journal on the table. "I knew he was spineless." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "After I found you, I reported it. Police searched, but Henry claimed you wandered off during a hike. No evidence, and Richard's money buried it." Caleb's fists clenched. "He's in Burlington, hiding like a coward." Noah's voice was softer, probing. "Did he ever look for us?" Samuel sighed, rubbing his beard. "Heard he hired investigators years later, but by then I'd legally fostered you, kept you off his radar." His eyes softened, recalling that night, the boys' frostbitten faces, their trust in him. A widower after losing his wife to cancer, Samuel had found purpose in raising them, teaching them to fish, to laugh, to heal. "You're my sons," he said, voice thick. "Blood or not." Noah nodded, his rabbit in his satchel, a talisman of resilience. "We need to face him," he said, glancing at Caleb, who nodded grimly. "For closure." Samuel hesitated, protective, then relented. "Do it right. Get help." They contacted Laura Bennett, a family counselor in Burlington, recommended by a bakery regular. Her office, a warm space with Vermont landscape prints and a ticking clock, felt safe. Laura, 50, with warm brown skin and graying hair and a neat braid, listened as Caleb recounted the journal's revelations, his voice sharp with betrayal. Noah added, "We want the truth, not revenge." Laura's eyes were kind but firm. "Confronting him won't erase the pain." "What do you hope for?" Caleb faltered, his anger softening. "To understand why he chose Richard over us." Noah's gaze dropped to his satchel. "And if he's sorry?" Laura suggested a mediated meeting, warning that Henry, now a recluse, might resist. She'd verify his whereabouts through a private investigator, ensuring no surprises. "This is about your healing," she said, handing them her card, "not his." As they left, Caleb's shoulders relaxed, Noah's calm anchoring him. They stopped at Samuel's cabin on the way back, the meadow now golden in the dusk. Samuel was splitting wood, his flannel sleeves rolled up, axe steady. "You're sure about this?" he asked, wiping sweat from his brow. Caleb nodded, his baker's hands steady. "We need to close this chapter." Noah hugged him, Samuel's flannel rough against his cheek. "You'll always be our home," Noah said, voice soft. Samuel's eyes glistened, pride and fear mixing. "I'll be here, no matter what." Chezo. Back at the bakery, Caleb baked late, the journal open beside him. Noah graded papers, his rabbit on the table, its ears worn but intact. The journal's words gnawed. Henry's shame, Richard's greed. Caleb kneaded dough, his anger easing into resolve. "If Henry's sorry, maybe we can move on," he said, glancing at Noah. Noah's pen paused, his curls catching the lamplight. "Maybe, but Samuel's our real father." They shared a look, their bond forged in survival, unbreakable. Laura called the next day, confirming Henry's address, a modest Burlington apartment far from his millionaire past. She'd reached his lawyer, who relayed Henry's shock at learning the boys were alive. "He's fragile," Laura warned. "Be ready for anything." Caleb and Noah planned the meeting, their lives, bakery, classroom, Samuel's cabin, grounding them. The journal, now dog-eared, was their map to a truth they weren't sure they wanted. The Stowe Community Center glowed under a canopy of twinkling lanterns, their light dancing on snow-dusted tables at the annual Winter Harvest Festival. It was December 2025, and Vermont's hills sparkled with fresh powder, the air crisp with pine and mulled cider. Caleb Marshall, 26, stood near a wooden podium, his lean 5'10" frame wrapped in a navy wool coat, dark hair neat under a knit cap. His hazel eyes scanned the crowd, a mix of pride and nerves. Noah, his twin, stood beside him, slightly shorter, his lighter curls peeking from a green scarf, his teacher's calm masking a flicker of anticipation. Their flannel shirts, tucked beneath jackets, hinted at their grounded lives, Caleb's bakery, Noah's classroom. Tonight, they honored Samuel Holt, the man who'd saved them 20 years ago, while facing Henry Grayson, their father, for the first time since that snowy betrayal. The festival buzzed with townsfolk, children weaving through stalls of handmade quilts and maple syrup. Samuel, now 65, accepted a community service award, his burly frame filling a red flannel shirt, tanned skin creased with a broad smile, gray beard catching the lantern glow. His deep voice echoed as he thanked Stowe, eyes misty as he hugged Caleb and Noah. "These boys are my heart," he said, voice thick, the crowd clapping warmly. For Caleb and Noah, the moment was twofold, a tribute to Samuel and a reckoning with Henry, whose journal had unveiled Richard Grayson's blackmail, forcing Henry to abandon them to save his empire. Months of counseling with Laura Bennett had led to this night. In her Burlington office, a cozy space with Vermont landscape prints, Henry had faced them 6 months ago. At 60, he was gaunt, fair-skinned sallow, thinning hair combed flat, his gray suit hanging loose. His voice cracked as he confessed. Richard's threat to expose financial fraud had broken him. "I thought Rangers would find you," he'd said, tears falling. "After, I searched, believing you were gone." Caleb's anger had flared. Henry's choice, coerced or not, left scars. Noah, clutching his rabbit's ear, saw regret in Henry's eyes, his calm tempering Caleb's fire. Laura, 50, with warm brown skin and a gray braid, guided them. Healing starts with truth, not blame. Counseling revealed more. Richard's death 2 years prior from a heart attack, his empire collapsed, freeing Henry to seek redemption. Legal records, uncovered by Laura's investigator, confirmed Richard's threats, including forged documents tying Henry to fraud. Henry had atoned quietly, funding Vermont youth programs, his billionaire days over. Caleb and Noah, wary but softening, invited him to the festival, a tentative olive branch. Samuel, ever protective, joined sessions, his flannel a constant, his presence grounding. "They're my sons," he'd told Henry, eyes hard but fair. "Earn their trust." At the festival, Henry stood at the back, his coat unbuttoned, hands in pockets, watching the twins. His face, lined with shame, held a flicker of hope. Caleb and Noah had organized the event, Caleb baking maple scones, Noah crafting student displays of Vermont history. The center's walls, lined with children's art, glowed with warmth, a contrast to the snowy hills outside. On stage, Noah took the podium, his voice steady. "We're here for Samuel Holt, our father in every way," he said, green scarf swaying, "and for second chances." He nodded to Henry, whose eyes widened, a tear escaping. Caleb stepped up, his baker's hands steady. "Family isn't just blood, it's who stays." The crowd applauded, lanterns casting soft shadows. Samuel hugged the twins, his flannel warm, whispering, "Proud of you." A local band struck up a folk tune, and townsfolk mingled, their laughter mingling with the scent of cider. Henry approached, hesitant, offering Caleb a faded photo. The twins, as boys, laughing with him in a park, their parkas bright. "I kept this," Henry said, voice thick, his fair hands trembling. Noah took it, his curls catching the light, and smiled faintly. "You kept looking," he said, rabbit in his satchel, a nod to Henry's search. The moment wasn't perfect. Caleb's jaw tightened, the memory of that freezing pine tree sharp. Noah's calm held, but his eyes searched Henry's, seeking sincerity. Samuel watched, arms crossed, ready to step in. Laura, present as a guest, nodded encouragingly, her braid glinting. Henry spoke, voice low. "I was weak, not heartless. Richard's gone, but I'll spend my life making it right." Caleb exhaled, his anger ebbing. "It's a start," he said, voice gruff but open. Noah added, "Join us tonight. Show us who you are now." They sat at a table, Samuel's award plaque between them, the photo beside it. Caleb shared a scone, Noah offered cider, small gestures of trust. Henry recounted his years of guilt, his voice breaking as he described visiting shelters, hoping to find them. Samuel listened, his beard hiding a clenched jaw, but softened at Henry's vow to fund a Stowe youth center. "For them," Henry said, nodding to the twins. Caleb's eyes met Noah's, a silent agreement. They'd watch, not judge, yet. The festival wound down, children chasing snowflakes outside, lanterns dimming. Caleb's bakery van, parked nearby, held leftover scones for tomorrow's customers. Noah's students waved, their history posters rolled up. Samuel clapped Henry's shoulder, a cautious truce. "Keep showing up," he said, voice firm. Henry nodded, his coat now buttoned, a spark of purpose in his eyes. The twins walked him to his car, the snow crunching underfoot, Vermont stars piercing the sky. Back inside, Caleb and Noah stood with Samuel, the center nearly empty. "He's trying," Noah said, rabbit in hand, his curls damp from the cold. Caleb shrugged, his cap off, dark hair mussed. "Time will tell." Samuel hugged them, his flannel rough, pride in his eyes. "You're stronger than that night," he said, voice deep. The photo, now in Caleb's pocket, felt like a bridge, not whole, but starting. Their family, forged in survival and choice, stood firm. Samuel their rock, Henry a fragile addition. The festival's glow lingered, a testament to their journey. Caleb's bakery thrived, Noah's students sent thank you notes, and Samuel coached kids, Henry volunteering nearby. Imperfect but real, their bond echoed the journal's plea. Find them, love them. This story mirrors forgiveness's power to heal. What family would you rebuild? Share below, type 100 if the twins' grace inspires you, and like for more tales of heart.